Vic Fangio is the defensive coordinator. Nick Sirianni, Dan, knew he needed to make those changes.
Yeah.
How does Kellen Moore change this offense to maybe favor what Jalen Hurts needs to do a little bit better?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot more pre-snap motion. There's going to be a lot more changes in personnel. That's a little bit of a Kellen Moore identity. There's going to be a significant jump in some of the pass game concepts that have a little bit more NFL flair to them. I do think we'll see a little bit more of the nuanced RPOs. But when you talk about the Eagles coming off of last season, and then we pop that schedule up, my goodness, how important is that first month?
Yeah.
You know, Lewis made the point before of the youth, and there's question marks. Not only that, they lost 7 of their final 8. This is an organization in a city that just doesn't deal with things not going a certain way. And that first week, or that first month, you could sit here and say, let's take Jalen Hurts to take some time to learn this offense. I could sit here and say, man, this team could be 0-4.
Ooh.
I could sit here and also sit here and go, realistically, I could sit there, watch them be 3-1. Look, they could lose to Green Bay. And the Falcons, with their offensive talent, with the defense in Philly that's young and, you know, unproven, and then they got at New Orleans, at Tampa, they got to get off to a fast start to kind of quiet some of the, I guess, the concerns coming off at the end of the season.
Yeah, that first month, those first 4 games, to pick up where you left off about the defense, in particular the secondary, which had its issues last year, right out of the gate. Look, Jordan Love's got all his horses back.
Yep.
I played with all my dudes. We all came in here. Look, we're all 25 and younger. I just got paid. Everybody's fired up. Everybody's talking about us. You think the ball's not going to be in the air? You think Josh Jacobs isn't going to be rolling?
Right.
Look, you're going to get tested. Vic's side of the ball, that being Vic Fangio, the new defensive coordinator, that side of the ball is going to get tested. We know Vic likes to run that match quarters too high, shell-type defense, likes to keep it in front, rush with the people up front, keep 4 more in the back end, not expose our corners too much. They're going to have some youth on the corner too now. I mean, Quinyon Mitchell's going to have to play from Toledo. Cooper DeJean's going to have to play, whether it's safety corner, who knows. But, yeah, I think, to me, as much as there's so much talk around the offensive side of the ball, I want to watch the defensive side. That's what I want to watch.
You're raising defensive questions.
Yeah, you don't like defense, remember. You hate the defense.
You're just like Jalen.
I'm going to take us back to the offense. And I'm going to go,
I know you are.
And I'm going to go to Jason Kelce.
Yeah.
And Sal Palantonio said this morning that Jason Kelce wasn't walking through the doors of that facility, but he is walking through the doors of our facility on Thursday night when we have the Bears-Texans game. And that's great for us, but not so great for the Philadelphia Eagles.
No.
So it's going to be on Cam Jurgens, the center, to try to replace Jason Kelce. That's a blow to the offensive line that has to be ready for a tough Green Bay Packers defense in week 1, that Friday night in Brazil for both teams' opening game.
They started out 10-1. They ended up 1-6. They're changing offenses. This is Jalen Hurts' 8th coordinator in 10 years. He reminded the media of that. The Bears that we just mentioned are going to be.
Yeah. So, okay. And that's why this idea that it's going to take some time for Jalen Hurts to get this, to understand the offense. Dude, the dude's had to been learning new offenses and working with new play callers and everything since the beginning of his time. You know, I mean, like it's unreal. He's had someone new like every 5 seconds. So if anyone could do it, it's going to be Jalen Hurts. So I reject this idea that it's going to take him some time to get it. He will be fine. And the benefit of the Eagles is that they also do have seasoned, successful veterans who've had real experience and have also been around the block once or twice. And these are the obvious weapons, but it's, really the most important offensive weapons is Goddard, Saquon, AJ, Devontae. Like, those things matter. And yes, I take issue with that. It's a huge blow that Kelce left. Without a doubt, Kelce is, untouchable. No denying that. But the Eagles have been planning for this. Okay, it would be things a blow if it just came out of nowhere. If they had no idea and there was no backup plan, there was no transition of power plan, so to speak, or if he just randomly got injured, that's a blow. This is just, it's unfortunate. Players get older and they have to retire. It just is what it is. And again, the Eagles have been planning for this. Kelce has been planning for this and has been very honest with the Eagles about this process and has worked with the Eagles to ensure his backup. Kelce is not just a football player. He is an Eagle. without a doubt. Even his wife is like that as well. If you guys watched a really good documentary of the Kelce brothers, whatever the heck it's called. It's definitely more Jason Kelce centered, but Travis Kelce's in it as well. And he wants the Eagles to succeed. He feels that he is a Philadelphia Eagle, right? He wants the city, the organization, Jeffrey Lurie, like everything. So make no mistake about it, he wasn't just like, peace, I'm retired, that's all you, whatever. Like, he was passing on everything to, for the backup. So I'm not as concerned about that. I'm really not. And you can trust the Eagles. The Eagles have consistently been competitive and high quality of play for literally since 2000. So there's just no reason to suddenly doubt them, that they're not going to be able to get this going. With all that said, I do agree with what Orlovsky is saying about how they have to start off strong. It's not to say that because he was saying that the Eagles don't do well when things aren't going their way, and I think he was referring to the fans. It's not so much that, it's just that there's high expectations, and for the most part, the Eagles have reached those expectations, have achieved those expectations. And I think it was Kelce actually said this, ironically. It was just like, the city just wants you to try your best, to know that you are going as hard as they are going, as the fans are going. And that's all that at the end of the day matters. It's not so much that they have to win a Super Bowl, that they have to go undefeated or whatever it may be. But I do think that when you blame something like the coordinators, or if you just say it was, whatever, it doesn't even really matter, we can insert anything. If you say that the reason why this all kind of collapsed last season, let's just use coordinators as an example. Well, we got rid of those coordinators, and now we got new coordinators. And that is the message that you're sending to the fans, to management, to ownership, to the team, most importantly, to the team itself. Right? That's the message that you are sending to the defense and the offense and the quarterback. And if you now get off to a slow start, you're now kind of saying, well, maybe that wasn't true. We actually didn't solve the problem. We're actually just fundamentally flawed. Our identity is flawed. Our head coach is flawed. And then you can unravel. We see it all the time. Football teams especially can unravel very, very quickly, right? If they do drop, if they do go 1-3, 1-4, then it is like Sirianni's fielding questions now every day. I gotta wait a second. When I say his name, when I say the coach's name, that woman on iPhones pops up. It's so obnoxious. Anyway, what I'm saying is he'll be fielding questions. I'm gonna call him Nick. When Nick fields questions, he'll be fielding questions every other day about whether he's going to get fired or not. Like, seriously, it was like, do you have to win the next 2 games against the Browns and Giants, or will you be fired? And it'll be like, it'll just unravel. Then he'll have no command of the locker room, and then they're going to ask Jalen Hurts those questions. Do you want Nick Sirianni to be your coach still? And it's just like, you're just talking about non-football stuff at this point. You're no longer talking about the actual games. And Jalen Hurts is going to have to keep saying, it's not my job. I don't make those decisions. Me and Nick have a great relationship. I'm really excited, and I'm just prepared for the Giants. Right. And it's just like, it just unravels. So I think they do have to start off strong, which I do believe they will. I strongly believe they will, because I think that they're a top team in the NFL. I have no reason to believe otherwise. I believe in the coordinating changes that they made. I believe strongly in the coordinating. I believe in the players that they have and the pieces that they added in free agency or drafted. This team should be significantly better. And as long as Jalen Hurts is actually legitimately healthy, I think they have the potential to be a great team. Their offense will actually have an identity and have flow, and will actually be progressive, and will have pre-snap motion, like Orlovsky pointed out. And they will do some more nuanced RPOs. It won't be the same stagnant. I don't even know what they did last year, quite honestly, because it was just like, most of the time you were watching those games, you were really just like, how can an offense have so many great names but do nothing? Look just not like they know what they're doing. And again, to me, that's a sign of play calling and just your coordinator as a whole. Because it's like, I don't even know what you're practicing at that point. And like I keep saying about the Eagles, if you watch those games, it was like every single passing play, a wide receiver was never open. They were just never open. Like, everything was contested. Nothing was schemed to make it easier for the actual weapons. Nothing. And you can see such a stark contrast when you watch the Packers play the Cowboys, and those wide receivers are open for miles and miles and miles against a great defense. So it's just the Eagles did not have that at all. And I believe they will have that this season, not to mention a much tighter, younger defense, which also is incredibly important for the Eagles. So, yeah, listen, it can be a tough schedule because I do think the Falcons will be a good team. I think the Packers will be a good team. Not very concerned about the Buccaneers. The Browns are a question mark. I mean, if Deshaun Watson can really rewind the clock back and be a legitimate, formidable quarterback, then they can be tougher. But if not, it's like the Browns not concerned. The Giants, obviously not. The Bengals, who even knows? Honestly, it's like, are they actually bringing their wide receivers back? Is Joe Burrow healthy? Like, what's the story with that? But even if they just split those games, and which I think they'll be better than that, it's like they're still set up to win. Let's see if I can get it. They're still set up to win another 11, 12 games and win the division, from my viewpoint, because I don't think the Commanders are going to win the division, and I don't think the Cowboys are going to be in a position to win the division. So at the end of the day, even if they have a really rough beginning schedule that gives them some extra losses that they maybe normally wouldn't have had, I think it's okay because I think the Eagles win the division. They'll be in the playoffs. And then at that point, it's just, let's go. But again, you got the Commanders. The Rams will be tough. Ravens will be interesting. Panthers not. Steelers, it's like, who the heck is their quarterback? Justin Fields, Russell Wilson. What the heck is going on? Commanders again. And then you got the Cowboys and Giants. So, listen, it's not the easiest schedule in the world. There's definitely some tough games. So many of the games are actual question marks because we know with either those quarterbacks, like who's going to be the quarterback, what's actually going on with them. It is interesting, though, because they don't have some of these other late season games like, and they never do because they always are playing like the Giants and the Cowboys and the Commanders in those last few weeks. But you don't have some of these other later games like against the Ravens where maybe it's like the last couple of weeks where like they already locked their division or locked in their, number one seed or, however it may be. So you're going to get a good fight against the Commanders, Cowboys, and Giants regardless of their situation. But yeah, no, I see the Eagles winning another 11, 12 games this season, and I think that'll be good enough to win the division. And that's really all the Eagles are focused on in the short term. I think the Eagles have true Super Bowl aspirations. That's what this team is built for. That's what they want, especially considering they were just in the Super Bowl a couple of years. But in terms of how we always try to reduce things of like, oh, we're just worrying about this week, we're not worried about next week. I think that's true, but it's also kind of cliche that gets kind of blown out of proportion. I think in the Eagles' mind right now, since their true since their true goal is to win a Super Bowl this season, it's just we're focused on just winning the division because that is the first step. Yes, technically week 3, week 4, week 5 is the step, but it's just as a whole, if we can kind of pull back just another notch, it's win the division. We just got to focus on winning the division and being healthy going to the playoffs. And then we're going to go from there. And honestly, that's exactly what the Kansas City Chiefs did last year. It was just, we're just going to win the division. Fortunately, our division is trash. We lost a couple wonky games and played some bad games against the Broncos and the Raiders, which was, disastrous for us. But we just got to win the division and we got to be healthy. And once we get in there, we know we got this. Let's go. And I think that's kind of the Eagles' path. It's not a matter of going 10-1 in the regular season or doing any of those things because we know that doesn't always necessarily matter, as the Eagles learned firsthand last season. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Do you think the Eagles need kind of like a fast start to kind of quiet the concerns, whether it be within the locker room or the fan base, media, whatever? Do you think the Eagles are going to be good this season, or do you think that they have not actually solved the issues that hurt them last season? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.